Hey kiddos, I am coming to you kind of live, and you may notice that I have a special guest with me today. So today we have, let's see, would you like to go by your first name or your last name?
I do both.
Okay, well, this is Miss Valerie Poulter, and she is a nurse, right?
Yes.
Good. I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
She is a nurse and she works for MD Anderson, which is a name some of you guys might have heard of before. But I want to get started by letting her kind of describe what her exact job title is so you guys will know exactly what it's called.
Hi. I'm a registered nurse, and my title in the operating room is a clinical nurse. I've done a number of evaluations, and I'm now at the top level, I guess, of clinical nurses, um, where I am an expert level.
Expert level is always good. I know some of my students are on expert level in Minecraft. They dominate. So can you explain exactly what you do in your job? What does your job title mean that you're in charge of?
Excellent. I'm a operating room nurse, and in that role, I have two branches that I can be working in. One of them is a circulating nurse, where I am not scrubbed into the sterile field, but I am in the operating room, making sure that my patient is positioned correctly, is comfortable, and feels safe as they're falling asleep. That we have made sure that we have assessed for any injuries, any allergies, any implants that need to be taken care of, treated, especially when we're having the patient fall asleep. I um, ensure that the patient is as safe as possible, and I'm their advocate throughout the whole procedure. If I see anything that's going on that's not in the patient's best interests, I stop the line, and I maintain sterility of supplies, help maintain the sterility of the field. I do a lot of different things. I order medications. I order blood on the order or under the I guess the orders of the physicians. So I'm taking care of both the surgeon and the scrub technician in the field, as well as the anesthesiologist and the nurse anesthetist in the room. So,
So
and
you're
the patient.
kind of like the mom to everyone in a little bit of a way.
Yeah, that's a really good descriptor. I also think of myself as a nanny.
A nanny, a babysitter, a mom. I like it. That means you and I
Yeah,
have a lot in common.
it's not too dissimilar. There's a lot of education that goes on both with the patient as well as the surgical team members.
Very cool. Well, I want to ask you, my students are learning about goods and services, and I know you know what those are. So I want to hear from you. Would you consider what you do producing a good or providing a service?
I provide a service, and for the longest time, nursing wasn't necessarily looked on as a service industry. However, with the change in healthcare in the community, people can go anywhere for their care. So, having a valuable service that's performed to the peak of your ability with the concerns of your customer as the primary goal, or meeting the needs of your customer as the primary goal, has become a greater focus in nursing now. Um, Unfortunately, you think it's all driven by the dollar, but it's also driven by your patient's perception of the care that they receive. And
So how they're feeling about how well they're being treated.
exactly. That will determine whether or not they come back, whether or not their insurance companies will renew contracts with our hospital. And even just for my own self-pride in the job I do. I want to know that I'm giving the best possible service to my customers.
Awesome. Very cool. So I have one last question for you. I do want to tie this into some current events that we're dealing with right now. And my students, they know a little bit about COVID-19. We've talked about kind of how it affects children or how it doesn't affect them. And we've talked about, how to stay safe from germs and stuff like that. And I'm sure that they've been hearing from their parents a little bit about what's going on in the outside world to some extent.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, how has the onset of this virus affected your job and your service?
My job has changed considerably since COVID-19 arrived in the United States. Um, as a mandate from the governor of Texas, we were no longer allowed to do any elective surgeries.
So,
And you wouldn't,
can you explain what elective means? Sorry.
anything that isn't absolutely necessary. So if you are not at risk of, further complications, we can't do the surgery. So, um, say you had a bowel obstruction, we can do that surgery, because if we don't fix that, you're not going to survive. Whereas if we were, I'm trying to think of something, repairing a hernia that isn't having problems, it's just there, we can't do that surgery because it's not an essential, necessary surgery for you to continue living.
Got it.
So basically, we were only doing emergency surgeries. So our operating room went from doing about 70 cases a day to 8. As a result, a lot of the nurses were either sent home and you had to use your paid time off in order to have a full salary, or you had to reach out to our nursing reassignment pool and find a different role for the hospital. Because we decided to limit the number of people coming in and out of our hospital, we restricted entry to only employees and patients. I'm one of the entry screening team site supervisors now. So I work with a group of 6 to 10 people at 2 employee entrances in the hospital. We check people's temperatures and we assess if they've been out of the country, if they've been in a state that has high COVID rates, and either allow them to come to work or we refer them for testing for COVID. One of the really wonderful things that has come out of this experience is our teams have all pulled together and we're taking care of each other like we're the customer now, which is not always something that happens in a workplace. We've also had none of our patients spread the virus to us as nursing caregivers or healthcare workers in the hospital, which shows how strong our team has been working to prevent infection and prevent the spread. It really is. We've been working on streamlining getting into the building as well so that people aren't late for work, which had been a problem in the past. We're now using thermal cameras instead of handheld thermometers for screening people. So we're able to have our employees get to work on time, which is a wonderful thing for everybody because no one likes the stress of running late. So that was one of the most recent projects I've been involved with, was trialing the thermal camera installation and utilization. And then we had to collect data to compare it to the way we were screening patients using thermometers compared to the thermal camera. And we found that the difference was 0.1 of a degree Fahrenheit, which really, really was impressive. So we're going a little more high tech than I ever expected to.
It's amazing how that technology just creeps up into there and makes everything easier.
It does.
Something we're about to be learning about is how technology can make everyone's lives easier. So coming soon to a screen near you, kiddos.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Well, Ms. Poulter, I want to thank you so much for giving us your time and for sharing a little bit about what you do with us. The students in my coworker and Ms. Pena's class made a ton of posters thanking all of our frontline workers and our essential workers. And you are obviously very important to that. You're helping employees and patients stay well and get better. And
Yeah,
for all of us, I just want to say a big thank you, because what you do is truly brave and invaluable.
it's my pleasure. It really is. To being able to take care of people at their most vulnerable time in their lives is an honor, and I'm always grateful that patients are willing to trust their care in in my in me and in my hospital. It's I've been an employee there since 1994, so it means a great deal to me to be able to represent MD Anderson to the community and take care of patients for them.